Depending on where you live, the legal issues regarding health care may have different terms than what we use in this module, but the categories will be similar. The module requires you to discover the local, the regional, and national laws and regulations that apply to caregiving. We will present these categories for you to research, but unfortunately we can't actually give you the specifics for each location where people live. So there are three main categories of legal issues when it comes to making decisions for you when you can't speak for yourself, or in the case of family caregiving for the person you love, who will speak for them when they need to make decisions but they can't for themselves. So in some jurisdictions there are documents that are called powers of attorney. One may be for personal care and a separate one for finances. In both cases, these are documents that your loved one would fill out and be witnessed to designate you or you and several other people to speak on their behalf when they, for whatever reason, cannot speak for themselves. Some of these powers of attorneys would give direct instructions as to what the person may want, but generally speaking, the belief is that the person that you designate as your substitute decision maker in such a document knows what you're thinking up to the point where you're no longer able to speak for yourself. So it's a shifting situation where, for example, your loved one may be in hospital and suddenly is unable to speak for a time for themselves, and you will have known and have had conversations with that person up to that point and know what they would like in different types of circumstances. So these are called powers of attorney. There's another document called a living will or something similar to a living will, and this is typically a document where you may also appoint a substitute decision maker, but if that person is not available or you do not have one, the document is to speak for you. So in this case, the document would say, if I am in a coma, these are the types of things I would want. If I am in an accident and I'm on life support system, these are the types of things that I would want or not want. And so it's a fairly specific document on what you think you would like in certain circumstances. The advantage of a power of attorney is that as you go through the healthcare process, your mind may change as to what it is you want and do not want. For example, you may typically say that if you were in an accident and you are on life support, that you might not like extraordinary care. But if there's a possibility that you might come out of that and there's an upcoming holiday, a family event like a wedding or a graduation of a grandchild, that you might accept extenuating circumstances. But since you can't predict everything in advance, the person you designate or the people you designate as powers of attorney can adapt to the changing circumstances. Other categories of legal issues are a last will and testament. About half of people in North America do not have a last will and testament. This makes it very difficult for family members to settle estates after you've gone, because they have to follow then the rules of the jurisdiction, which may not follow your wishes around how you would like your assets distributed. So it's well worth having either a template from the internet from your government website that gives a list of the types of things that need to be in a will, or to go to a lawyer, because they often will do last wills and testaments quite economically in order to get your business. You need to designate an executor or an executrix who will do the legal work for your estate. And this can be a family member, a friend, or you can pay someone to do this for you, like a lawyer. Custody issues shouldn't be dealt with just by word of mouth. Parents need to determine in advance if they have a serious illness or are in an accident and die suddenly, who is to have custody of their children, and to write that as part of their last will and testament. The courts do not have to accept your preference, but it is important that they know who it is that you would like to have the role of adoptive parent in taking care of your children. Major assets such as cottages, for example, have serious tax implications. And again, if you have a last will and testament, if you have major assets, you should have a lawyer draw up your legal will. The reasons for this is around your own residence, but also around a cottage or cars or other assets, coins, paintings, stamps, whatever it might be. Now, you really do need the professional opinion of a lawyer to minimize any possible lawsuits after you've gone. There are two types of investments that come outside of your will. One is insurance, and so typically in order to have an insurance policy you have to designate beneficiaries, and they are typically paid faster than if your beneficiaries are getting any assets from your last will and testament. So insurance is typically outside of that. Some investment plans and assets may also be outside of your estate, similar to insurance. And in these plans, you must determine the beneficiaries when setting up the plan. Your executor, however, should know what these plans are and where they are located so that they can institute the beginning of the process of getting your beneficiaries paid. There are several sources for finding out about legal issues in your specific case. First of all, of course, is a lawyer, your family lawyer if you have one. There are websites of your regional and national governments. Just type in estate planning and your regional or national government to find local resources. And of course, consumer groups also have information that may be helpful to you. Discover local, regional, national laws and regulations that apply to you, specifically around powers of attorney, living wills, last will and testament, custody agreements, etc. Check your insurance and registered investment plans to make sure that the beneficiaries are the same as you would like them to be. You may have started these years ago and now have children or grandchildren, and you might want to change the beneficiaries around. And check to your lawyer website and consumer groups for information that will be specific to your needs. Our next module will look at the questions to ask of whom and when.